Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of LivingYosh. I have an extremely special guest today, Nissim Black.
You got a mission. It's either you're going to choose God or you're going to choose the grave. My son got sick with meningitis. He was 4 months. Everything was at stake. I was spending those 6 hours praying for my son's life. I remember being backstage in New York with some of my favorite rappers, people I grew up listening to, and being called, you stupid mother this, you stupid constant in your head. My confidence was so shot as that kid. I was 17 years old. I had a very powerful dream. It lines up to exactly what I'm doing right now. I won't go into all the details of what the dream was. I wasn't serving a different guy. Hashem just took off more garments so I was able to see who he is.
Who I look up to so much, especially because I've had a journey, and I know Nissim has had a journey as well. We've all had journeys, but I connected with Nissim a few months ago, and it just felt so natural. I mean, speaking to someone who inspires so many people and inspires me is a bracha like no other. Nissim, I don't need to tell you to introduce yourself, but can you tell my fans, and obviously your many fans, just a little introduction, if you don't mind?
Oh, yeah. I am Nissim Black. I'm a big fan of Yosh. Very happy, first off, that you even thought of me to bring me here. So I really appreciate it.
I love you, my brother. I really do.
I think you're a little bit taller than me. I don't know if you're looking up to me or looking down to me, but whatever the case is, whatever feels right by you, you say whatever you feel. Nissim Black, recording artist, podcaster, guy just makes noise. Originally from Seattle, Washington, now live here in Eretz HaKodesh, Eretz Yisrael. Living here amongst the same grounds and holy trees and mountains and forests and trees that our Avot and Imaot walked through and talked with Hashem in these places, and just living my everyday life. And just as distant as Seattle is to Israel is how distant my life was to becoming a Yid today. So came from the inner city streets, grew up around a lot of violence, gangs, and different things like that. And at the right time, when I heard Kol Hashem, I ran after him. So that's the short version.
I'm into that. I want to start, Nissim, if you don't mind, with your first single as becoming an Orthodox Jew. I believe it's called Miracle Music. Is that right?
Yeah, so that was the first mixtape, actually. That's crazy you brought that up. That never came up in the interview.
I do my homework, my man. I do my homework.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about
it. Please.
Yeah, that was the mixtape that... So I'll tell you that just the background story was I left music when I was in the secular world. I sort of reached my peak before YouTube took over, really the music space, and before there was anything such as a Spotify or anything like that. The big thing was to be on MTV and BET, and I was there. I was charting on college radio. This when the CMJs was still big. And right when I finally got to that peak, simultaneously I was finding Hashem at the same time. And so by the time I put out my album, and I got a lot of support from people who were big, at least in the music industry. I'm not going to start name dropping people. But the album started doing well. But by this time I had such a burning fire in my heart for Hashem. I remember being backstage in New York. There was two things that happened to me. One thing, I was backstage in New York with some of my favorite rappers, like people I grew up listening to, and they're like tapping people trying to introduce themselves to me, and they knew me by my name. They were familiar with me. And I had always imagined this because music was my life. I imagined this as a kid, like, wow, wait when, I finally get to meet, some of my, heroes in the hip hop game, like how ecstatic I would be. And it happened. And my desire for Hashem was so much stronger that it just really didn't shake me. It was like a trip for it to happen, but it didn't do anything for me. So that's when I knew that where I was in my life at that time, at least with God, was very, very real. The other thing is that I was so in this space and of seeking and, at least spiritually, that I remember when that album actually had came out, we were getting calls. It's crazy. I feel like an old man. The record stores like Fat Beats and all that in New York. I'm from Seattle, so I'm from the West Coast. I never really had to distribute outside the West Coast. So they start calling us, and the labels were like, man, what's going on? We didn't get any shipments. And we were waiting. We were advertising the album. It's like, you guys didn't send anything? It was like, we didn't even know we had fans over there. We didn't know we had that reach, So I left really music at that peak. Like, I worked my whole life to get to that point where I was. And by the time I got there, my desire for Hashem was so much better. So I ended up leaving. And so I thought I retired officially, officially moved into a community, started my Geras, began learning Torah. And there was a few people who found out. I don't know how, because I didn't come in like very loud. I guess obviously I didn't look like anybody else around there, but I'm saying, I guess maybe people were going to do their research. And then when I finally came into the community, certain people found out, and some of the younger kids who were hip to the hip hop world, especially locally, knew who I was. So anyway, ended up getting out there. And there were certain people started pushing me to make music again, which I was very strong against. And then when my son got sick with meningitis, he was 4 months, and right around that time was a big time. It was a season to Kufa of people pushing me to make music. And I finally told Hashem, I was a big student already at this time of Rabbi Shalom Arush, of his books at least. I didn't know him well yet. I didn't know him, but I knew the books. And he had talked about praying to God for 6 hours. So I prayed because my son, everything was at stake. He was sick in the hospital, meningitis. And somewhere in there, I hit a meditation. I started thinking about how many people are pushing. Maybe I'm not doing what it is that Hashem wants me to do. Maybe I'm just being very, very resistant. Modest was having his struggles publicly at the time. There were other Jewish artists who were having their struggles publicly. And I was just like, I was so deathly afraid, right? And so after I prayed that, I had that siman I wanted, a broken microphone was working. I talked to my Rebbe, and I started recording music. And miracle music really came out of that. And I didn't even know where I was going with it, but I just started grabbing, I had songs, some beats my brother-in-law had made, and we had followed up on them. And then back then, a mixtape, today they're just like albums, but back then you take, whatever songs were hot. So I was like taking hot secular songs and then rapping about Hashem on the songs, so I was like doing something a little bit different. I got some flack from the secular world, but I listened to that a few months ago, and I was just like blown away. I was like, man, I got to reuse some of this stuff.
For sure.
I was just blown away by that record.
But so
I don't think it officially came out on any streaming platforms. I think it's on Bandcamp, but I don't think we officially ever put it out.
I want to know before I started to speak to you, I watched this clip of you singing at a camp for children and adults with disabilities, and I just love what you do as far as you give people so much strength. And what kind of joy is it to be in front of those kids and those adults, and they have so many smiles on their face just looking at you like you're the difference maker. To have that type of voice, I mean, that's a dream it's a gift from Hashem that people could only pray to have. I mean,
right.
I don't want to just keep on commenting. You think I'm just commenting because you're on my show, but when I saw that, I'm like, I want to be that person that makes such a difference. You must have so much joy. You're so blessed to see all those smiles on their face.
Yeah, you know what? It's really this phase of challenges you go through with being a public eye, right? So because you have those moments where all your aliyahs are in front of everybody, but all your Yeridas are too. You're always being watched. You're on full surveillance from Hashem and everybody else around you also, right? So you always have the struggle of like, for instance, there's a big tzaddik, Rabbi Yitzhak Gavra, who's buried not far from me. And this is Hilula today. This is his yahrzeit. So everybody goes up. But I can't go to any of those. I never get to pray. I spend my time taking pictures with every single person there. I never get to have. So there is some, I always tell people like there is some trade-off with some of it. The other part of it, the sipuk, the joy and gratification that you get from knowing, you're talking about, being at Camp Hask or, being there in front of all these kids and getting the pleasure of that. Big high. There's nothing that could compare to it. But let me tell you another blessing that I came across and I started to realize, and I hope even other artists, singers, or Jewish celebrities, whatever the case is, will take this. And we know that one of the biggest things that Gemara lets us know that can give a person a fast chelik in olam haba, into the world to come, is to make other people happy. And so what's interesting about this is that sometimes you don't even have to sing. So sometimes to pick myself up, right? And I'm not a very I'm not a very with it action type of guy. Like meaning, contrary to being on stage and being in front of people, I'm really like an outer introvert. I'd rather be by myself, be misboyded. I don't like to leave the studio, and whatever the case is. So anyway, so I was recording somewhere the other day, and somebody was going to go get me something. This is a couple months back, actually. And he's like, "No, if you come outside, people are going to go crazy. Don't walk down." It was down Central Ave. We had to go get some coffee or whatever. And I said, "No, I need to pick me up." When I go and make other people happy by just walking, it picks me up. It gives me a lift. It gives me a lift that, Hashem, I know that you love me. Say that if they love you down here, then he loves you upstairs, right? So sometimes I said, I need to go get that coffee. I said, listen, I have such a bracha. I can walk outside down Central Avenue and make Yidden happy. I don't have to do anything. I just had to walk to go get a coffee, and I made Yidden happy, right?
I really like
So
that
it's
because
beautiful.
when I was going through my tough time, and I think I told you this, like people would come up to me and they'd be like, I'm having a tough time. When I see you, Yosh, I feel a lot better. So it's a little different. I wish mine was singing, but you know what? Any gift Hashem gives you, like go with it. Whatever
Right,
works.
right, right. It's a blessing. Either way it goes, it's a bracha.
I wanted to ask you about being a dad in the spotlight, and how do your kids look up to you in different ways than other people? I mean, what's the relationship as far as do they? I'm sure they look at you as a superstar because you're a great dad, but what's the
Mhm.
relationship like when you're such a public figure with your kids?
It's the biggest. I find this to be the most challenging thing in the world is that balance, especially when you're like me, because I don't only sing, I also speak, right? So what that has led to is that I'm on the road. I would reckon much more than other people. Most of the other people at least that I talk to. So at least 100 days out of the year, I'm away from home, right? So a third of the year, not around more than 100 days actually when I start to think about all the other trips. Uman, I'm a breast lover. Okay, whatever. So I'm away from the house quite a bit in years past. And so there's always this guilt of feeling like, who's going to be there. And it's only gotten stronger and stronger as the years have gone on. Like, for instance, there's nobody there to do Avos Ubanim with my kids when I'm away, right? Or Hanukkah's my main time of the year that I'm away, and I'm with other families lighting with them and their children, and my children at home lighting without me, but seeing other fathers light with them. So there is wear and tear. So I don't want to make it seem like it's the easiest or the simplest thing in the world. The main thing is that what I've found and what I've had to learn is that when you're present, you need to be present, right? And so that's one of the biggest things that has become like my focus, especially as my kids are getting older. One daughter's going to seminary. I have my son who was bar mitzvah last year. I got another bar mitzvah this year. And so for me, the main thing for me is just really working on increasing the presence when I am home. And doing everything I can to not have to leave, right? Building other things and figuring out a way, because I heard Rabbi Weinberger say this one time, and he was speaking about in terms of shidduchim, right? And he said that a lot of times these young ladies, they're propped up to you. You need the biggest Talmid Chacham. You need to marry the Gadol Ador. Like, okay, so whatever. I don't want a husband. I think the thing was, I don't want a husband that works unless he's like Reb Moshe. If he's Reb Moshe, then whatever. And he said Reb Moshe is not a husband, even though he was a husband. He said a Gadol's he belongs to the people. He belongs to a people. He asking for something different. And I know this from tzaddikim and people that I'm close to. They run Yomam V'Layla for Klal Yisrael, and they don't really get the opportunities to be fathers, and not in the normal sense. So people always have to think about that trade-off. Now, I was saying the name of Ichimaya Morgenstern, who said that today, unlike when he was younger, but he said today, now a lot of the singers are like mashpiyas. And so a lot of people go into this, so they have a lot of the same stresses that Rebbeim and Gedolim and everything. You know what I'm saying? Not just because you can sing, you whatever, but you understand what I mean. The celebrity aspect of it, and in the Yiddish world, it's also much different because there's also the influence. Your expectation is not that you're just some celebrity like a lot of these young Jewish kids think you have a nice voice or something like that. What do you offer? What are you really bringing to Klal Yisrael? What are you bringing to the people? It's bigger than that. So I said all that to say, sorry, because I'm a rambler, but I think it's
Great.
extremely, extremely important to build presence while you're there, and you have to make that distinction. So sometimes I've been really, I'm so happy you asked me that, because I'm in this place of having to learn how to say no to people, or saying yes to my family, or saying things like that. So one of my biggest struggles, but Baruch Hashem, my kids still like me. They like me a lot.
It's not always
So
easy. It's not always easy.
yeah,
Well, yeah, because when I spoke to you, it's hard being away from your kids, and it's hard to
right,
be present, even when you feel like you're not present. And I really
right,
appreciate you saying that. And it's great advice. When you have time with your kids, make the most of it,
right,
because time goes by so fast. And me personally, I want my kids to love me so much and look up to me so much. I mean, the way
right.
people look up to you. I mean, that's a gift. And
And that's
I
some person should daven for, by the way. I really made that a part of my tefillas, that not only my children but my wife should be enamored by me. That's the way the relationship is supposed to be. They should be enamored by you. They should really look up to you. So I ask Hashem to give me the tools and give me the resources to create moments and memories that are going to influence that. Because
love that.
that's the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't happen because you're the most charming or the whatever. It's you got to get in there and roll up the sleeves and get involved. And so
Yeah,
that's really what it is. Another thing, just because I was just thinking about it, is that I come to notice also too, by my kids. Thank God that they speak to me and to my wife a lot, much more than what I've noticed with perhaps some of their friends. They find it quite awkward when, like, school secretaries or not secretaries, but psychiatrists say, like, "Oh, you could talk to us and not your parents." My kids come back like, "Well, who would do that? Like, what?" They don't even understand that. So there are some pluses that you start to realize from over there. But the other thing I noticed is that everything is about investment, right? It's the investment that you put into something is what you're ultimately going to get out, right? You reap what you sow. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And that's the same for our relationship with Hashem, with our children, with our wives, and with everything. And I noticed that the more and more I invest in it, the more and more it becomes much more of a harvest. It becomes more fruitful.
can you make a song about being a parent, and think about me when you make it? Because
Yeah.
I would love that. It's so powerful. I'm not even. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. It's so powerful, like to hear. Because I know when you speak, you feel Hashem giving you that energy, and to me, like it means that it's so much sincerity, and I really appreciate that. And because I'm trying to be a parent as well, and I think
Right.
people need to realize what you're saying is so powerful.
Right.
It's your everything. The way you are with your
Right.
kids is your everything.
No, it's so true, man. I saw a few different things recently just on the topic of parenting. I think it was one of the NBA, NFL players. I actually did a short on this that we haven't released yet, my team. Anyway, but he had wrote down a few different things that he was going through in one of his counseling sessions. I think that he was doing, that he started to realize, and it was sort of on rising in the morning and going to sleep, and he realized the detrimental effect of being very, very hard with the kids on their way to sleep, and also in the morning, that you become the child's inner voice. You become that voice. We don't realize how much spiel we are on children. And all due respect to my parents, love my parents. My mother, God bless her, Shem should give her neshama and aliyah. She
I mean,
did what all she could with the resources that she had. But I had it very tough, and one of the reasons why it was tough for me to be even a good student. I remember the times I would do my homework, and just coming from that culture, really not to throw shade on my mother, but it's just people to understand the way that you're spoken to a lot of times in that culture. You were spoken down to so bad, and I didn't realize even till a few weeks ago how much of a how much of an effect that it's had on me. I'm going through my own personal things right now, and I realized that I've always had certain struggles with asking for things, speaking out when something's going on with me, and different things like that, because my confidence was so shot as that kid. Trying to do my homework, for instance, and being called "you stupid mother," this, "you stupid, you dumb," I'm just straight up, like, like
yeah,
off of that, like constant, like in your head. And so you don't realize how much that has an effect on you. And I'm misguided many years, spent time with the Shem, so I didn't even realize a lot of these things were inside of me, or why that when it comes to certain things, I lack the confidence to do certain things. But we become the inner voice, and so
Yeah.
it was a very, very powerful clip. So I can't wait till we get that one out there. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just ranting
No,
on. You
no,
said
I
something.
love it.
You hit a soft
I
spot
could
for
listen to
me.
you for hours. I wish we could go longer. No, please, please. That's why I'm just watching and listening because I love it really because I know it's so powerful. I mean, you kind of need to. I don't want to say you have to watch your words, but because you have so many people following you, like that's what I'm saying. Like you say it with such strength because maybe because you
Mhm,
taught yourself, or
mhm.
obviously because you believe it. But that's why I'm just listening because that's who you are. You have so many
Right.
people that listen to you, and I want to listen too. I mean, so thank you,
Thank you
thank you.
so much.
I am more confident just because you're on my show. So
I
I, I
appreciate it.
I listened to one of your part of your podcast the other day about who teaches you a lesson.
Hmm.
There's a little
Hmm.
clip of Michael Jackson, and and the difference people can make. But in the end, it's about being a father. And I'm sorry about going into fatherhood, but it's obviously so important to me and to you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
who, besides Hashem, the obvious, who
Hmm.
teaches you a lesson? Who do you get up? You get up in the morning, you say Modani. Who's that person that will help you move forward every day?
It's very
Kind of
good.
what,
So
kind of
apart
like the
from
way
Hashem is
you
Father.
help everyone move forward every day. I mean, people can just
Right.
turn on
That's
your song and move
very
forward.
sweet.
So who teaches you a
Listen,
lesson?
my wife is very instrumental. My father is a great man. My father changed his life many years ago. He's now theologian and professor. He's a Christian, and he's an amazing person. I don't get to talk to him as often. Obviously, we're thousands of miles apart, and I didn't grow up with him in the house. Even as he was going through this transformation, it was still from somewhat of a distance because I wasn't always there. I would stay with him by weekends and stuff like that. So, um, but still, even with that, I realized how much um even within that, not even being in the same house and not being able to have the privilege to be there every weekend, but still having my father part of my life in that regard. Not to throw shade at all on my stepfather, who was a part of my life and helped raise me and different things like that as well. But there was something always about seeing him go through his transformation was something that was encouraging for me. When these things and lights start going off to me, start directing me towards Hashem. Obviously, I took a different path than him, but that was very, very encouraging for me. So I've always looked up to him because of that. So that's one staple. But on a day to day, I would say having my wife, right? My wife is my everything. She really is. She's just I can't rant enough about how amazing my wife is. What a gift and what a matana she is from Hashem. And I would
Amazing.
say also too having my best friend, my brother-in-law Yosef, is we're very, very close, and to see him and his growth and us, we grew up, we were since we're 5 years old, we were very close, and we married sisters, we were all Magaya together,
Amazing.
and just to see his growth, and I always every once in a while, I know he's got the better end of the stick. He's got mostly girls, I got mostly boys, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
boy.
so the energy levels over there, I was just over there the other day, I was just looking, I was like, man, how come their walls don't have all that stuff? Oh, I just realized the boys are wrestling and playing soccer in my house, and his son's over by me. My girls is over by him. So whatever. Anyway, but no, just to see his growth. So having him, another close friend of mine, I was just talking about him, Dove Percal. Dove Percal, I don't know if you know who Dove is. He runs Sternberg Shema camps. Just also too, I told him the other day, I was on stage the other day at his camp. We surprised the girls, and I told them, I said, a
Wow.
lot of times I really look up to Dove, like really, genuinely, like as a big brother, as a father figure, and just as somebody who I just admire so much, and has been so instrumental in my life. He has no idea. I tell him, but he has no idea how much he means to me. So. And all that. I keep a very short list of friends, but I have chaverim and people that have been in my life. So thank
I
God.
love that. I've been fortunate enough to get so many new mentors in my life that you need to keep around because it's
Right.
almost like survival. You need a go to. You
Right.
can't just do it yourself. It's
Man, I'm
really
telling
hard.
you, I'm realizing that more and more every day how important that was. My Rebbe, Rabbi Shmuel Brody, who I had the opportunity to be around for many years in Seattle, and Rabbi Benzikin. I spent a lot of time with Rabbi Brody, much more so because Rabbi Benzikin had became Rabbi Emeritus by the time we were Megayer, and I just connected with Rabbi Brody, and he really poured in, I think, a lot to me and my brother-in-law. Every day to be there with them, every morning to have to see somebody have such a love for Hashem and such a cheshik for his Yiddishkeit and growth, and he pushed us, and he really did. And to have him in my life, Rabbi Laser Brody, Rabbi Shalom Arush is like a father to me. I know he's like a Rebbe to everybody else. He's like a father to me as well.
He's
I know I
so
could always go
special.
to him for answers and advice. So it's been it's a beautiful thing. But you know what? I realized that having that day to day, Rabbi Nussin Myman, oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot.
I love
Like
him.
having
I
that
love him.
day to day mentor of Rebbeim and people that you can go through, that you see navigate life in a phenomenal way, that has things that have things that you really want to model after. It's just there's nothing like it.
Can I tell
So
you that Rabbi
important.
Nyman? I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't always have a Rebbe. I wasn't like the
Mm-hmm.
rabbi type growing up. So I met
Mm-hmm.
him during my difficult time, and I even asked him. I don't know if people actually asked this question, but I said, "Can you be my Rebbe?" It was like such a special moment. He's like, "I do," like type of thing. Oh my god, he's the most soft, caring person that I've ever met. Oh my god,
he's such a dose of just of shalom and peace,
yes.
And
Oh my
I
god,
remember one time he came to help me and my wife, and we had some stuff going on with the kids, and we were really trying to put out some fires over here. And Baruch Hashem, he happened to be in the neighborhood, came to sit with us and help us, figure out what, navigate things. And then he leaves, and then my wife goes, "You feel like that peace? You like feel peace? Like just so much like it was like a dose of shalom just came into the house." So then a few weeks later, I was talking to a friend of mine, and Rabbi Myman had spent some a few days over at his house, and he said his wife kept talking about just the peace that was in the home, just at
that's
his
so
mere
him.
presence. He's a very special individual. I was blessed to learn with him for I think over a year, maybe 4 days a week, just at his house. Me and him, maybe another friend every once in a while, but
I told him with
very
Hashem's
special
help,
times.
if I can go next year, my son just turned 12. His bar mitzvah's next year with Hashem's help. If I could be in Israel, I said he has to be there for my son.
Oh, absolutely,
Please pray
absolutely.
that I could have my son's bar mitzvah in Israel because that would
Oh
be the
man.
icing on the cake. I'm not going to keep you long, Neeson, but I got a question I really want to ask you.
Okay.
Um, did you ever think? I know growing up making music in Seattle, the whole point of music is to have a voice. Did you
Mhm.
ever think that you'd have a voice the way you have a voice today between your podcast, your music, your connection to Hashem? I mean, was that something you ever thought about? Because obviously you have such a voice. I mean, it's out there.
I would love to tell you like, oh, this just came out of nowhere and I wasn't aware of any. I was conscious of it. It happened when I was 17 years old. I had a very, very powerful dream. It's still very hard to explain. I won't go into all the details of what the dream was, but very much so, it lines up to exactly what I'm doing right now.
Wow.
I'm telling you, like in that dream came back when I told you I was spending those 6 hours praying for my son's life, and then I had this thing to do this, and then I remembered the dream, and I remembered like all the things, and it was sort of like a very mission driven go and speak for shit. And I remember this from the time I was a kid. Like even I talk about this more now, just what was going on in my psyche as I started to make gangster music after being that Christian kid. I was in the streets, in the gangs, went through Christianity, came out, and then start had that temptation to go back into that world. And I bit the cracker, and I'm like putting on this persona, being the street guy. But I felt this internal clock of like, you got a mission, and it's either you're gonna choose God or you're gonna choose the grave. I knew those things. That's just the way I felt. It was a very, very strong feeling. And so whatever, I had the opportunity. And so in retrospect, it's so clear. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was so clear. I saw
Oh
this
my God.
very much so. And it just goes to feel. I'm one of those guys, and I'll leave you with this because I'm short on time also. But I genuinely feel that a lot of people don't know their purpose because they
Yeah.
don't believe Hashem will be willing to reveal it to them. This
I love
idea
that.
of Hashem will tell you afterwards, and you only see these things afterwards. On these is like, like I said, I want to be able to be like, I want to be sound normal like everybody else to say, yeah, in retrospect, and other. No, I knew what Hashem was going to do with my life. I started to see it. And he made it very, very clear to me. I spent a lot of time with Hashem. Not only now, when I was 15, 16, I was a Christian kid. I used to pray to God. But not only that, I would lock myself in my room for hours and talk to Hashem. Right. So
Oh my God.
by the time I had these dreams and everything else, and I always say I wasn't serving a different God. Hashem just took off more garments, so I was able to see who He is, and now Baruch Hashem, I'm a Yid, and I still talk to Him. And so I think it's so important for people to understand the torturous nature that they're placing on Hashem, that they all feel and know they have a tafkid, and Hashem just wants you to be here and never know what it is. So I think it's
Yeah,
incumbent on all of us to search and seek and find and look for the hints and the clues of all these things that Hashem is
totally agree.
calling us back to Him. So, yeah, very important.
Can I just get a quick bracha? Is that a lot? I'm
I'll give
sorry.
you a bracha to be matzliach. Hashem should give you success. You should be zochah to bring your son here. Rabbi Maimon should be in town, Bezat Hashem, for
And
that
you?
simcha. I should be there. I was about to say I should be there as well, Baruch Hashem. Should be zochah to live here, to live in Eretz HaKodesh, Bezat Hashem.
Amen. Please.
That's it. You know, with ease, benachas, with parnasa, everything. Sheb briut, good health. Hashem should give you shefa, real shefa. Ashiris digdusha Bezat Hashem, to do good things in the world, and you should be zochah to have your children. They should be enamored with you. Should be enamored with you, and you should be a model father for all of Klal Yisrael Bezat Hashem. Everything good.
Nissim, thank you so much. And that's what LivingYosh is all about. How we can inspire others through our struggles. And you just defined it. I thank you, my brother. I
Thank
love you
you.
so much. And you
Thank
just
you.
gave me so much confidence. So thank you. I'm motivated today. I'm ready to go.